There we go. After this quick live, we're gonna go. Might know, baby. We're gonna go soon. Today's gonna be a short one. Don't worry. What is that? What's up, Jennifer? Jennifer. Mandatory fun. KLJ, good girl, Zena. Welcome everybody. This chat today, as usual, is later than usual. What's up, Azul? To all the newcomers, this channel mostly revolves around the simulation hypothesis. My name is Danny, and I'm claiming to have found proof that we live in a simulation. And we're meeting here on the daily to discuss all kinds of fun things like science, philosophy, religion, spirituality, and many other fun things. So today we're doing a pretty late episode because we're filming a documentary about the subject, and today we're filming all day. So we're probably going to have a lot of newcomers because I'll never sleep again. What's up, Jess? I know. You can come back. We're here every day. Usually I'm streaming at 6 p.m. Pacific time. So anybody who wants to show up, how are you? But usually I have this discussion a lot earlier. Not sure what time zone everybody are in. Thank you for the likes. Again, to all the newcomers, my name is Danny, and I discovered a few years ago that if you project a diffracted laser on a surface and you ingest a molecule that I cannot name on this live chat, you will see code running in surfaces, just like in the Matrix. With a comment like that, what I drop in. Slightly bitey. Which comment though? Which specific comment? So yeah, and basically my daily chat revolves around either people asking questions about the discovery and the details about the discovery, but we also discuss about a lot of fun things like physics, philosophy, spirituality. We have some fun conversations on these topics. So if this is something that jives with you, I highly recommend that you show up for our daily chats. And if you have any questions right now, even though today is a pretty late chat, you can ask me about my discovery. I'm claiming to actually found actual proof that we live in a simulation. And I'm backing it up by an experiment, which is you project a diffracted laser on the surface. And if you do while you're ingesting a particular molecule, you will see code running in surfaces, just like in the Matrix. Now, before you jump in and say, well, everybody's seen the Matrix, rest assured, I want to make sure that you understand that we're talking about something very substantial. We have now over 1,000 replications worldwide. I've met with some of the leading experts in the field. So at this point, it's no longer one of these things that kind of a couple of people think in the back, in their little crazy experiment, but it's taking some form. It's taking its own form, and this is now taking a life of its own. It's terrifying. I'm not considered to be Jewish, but my grandfather was Jewish. Why do you ask? Because it has to be by the mother. Made with a meal this morning. I'm homeless. Well, Anissa Watts, tell me why it terrifies you. I look Jewish. I'll take that as a compliment. What's the substance given a spelling hint? 3 letters. What people refer to as the spirit molecule, but it would also work with mushrooms, and it would also work with Aya. We tested it with a shaman in Central America, and he said that it also worked with the brew. You can see the code running reality. Essentially, yes. So now this is obviously the very short form of me kind of like informing that in a very short context on TikTok. But there's a lot of details to it. You can watch my videos on the subject. They're both pinned to my page, and you can go to my YouTube channel Dango Thoughts, and I have more lengthy videos that kind of explain the details of these things. Yeah, with 5 grams, you'll definitely see it. Anything above 3, you should be able to see it. But with the molecule, with the main molecule, it will make it very, very concrete. That's the main difference. So the thing that actually stands out about it is that everybody can agree on what they see. It's not so much. It doesn't vary according to who's looking at it and that kind of stuff. The discovery seems to be very robust and very important. Now, I think it's just one of the first of many different kinds of discoveries that are going to be made in the next few years. I do think that the emergence of potential, actual artificial general intelligence, whatever, if you want to go into the whole UFO space, whatever big mystery was pending, it will unfold in the next 2 years. And so I don't think it's a coincidence that what I found happened in this time. And to your comment, Anissa, I understand there's many reasons why this might be terrifying or scary, but if this is if this is reality, then this is reality. And Cosmo, there you go. We have a new puppy. He's going crazy. But as opposed to like in the movie, it's not like the world is run inside of a computer, but the more accurate way of saying it is that the world is computational, what we understand about being computational, and the simulation would just be a slice of reality. So there's a much broader world, which is not new. A lot of people suspected that from a spiritual perspective, from a religious perspective. It's just that someone else is in the room. Let me see. Do you feel like higher power is in control of that or us? Cosmos. Wait, Cosmos scared you? Cosmo. You know that my dog's name is Cosmo, which is weird you said that. Why did you say that Cosmo scared you? When do you think it occurred, or have we been in the Matrix all along? What kind of fonts is the code? Yeah, so great questions. First of all, no, we were. This is what reality is made out of, essentially. And like in the movie, we weren't put here like in prison, but we were literally created with this layer of reality. That's the proposition. So you can think of it more in terms that the laws of physics are essentially computational at bottom. Let's think about it in these terms. And the code weirdly resembles what you see in the movie. So it kind of looks like Japanese katakana. Not really, but that's the closest it looks like. It looks like alien characters. What does it say? I don't know. It's just this. It's discernible, but there's so much going on that you can't really, pinpoint exactly what it's saying. I had a couple of artists recreating it, so we're working on a documentary right now. We're going to put out the materials in the documentary, including the illustrations of what it looks like. But essentially, it kind of looks like the closest is like what you see in the movie, if that makes sense. Have you read Max Tegmark's Mathematical Universe? Yes, I have. Have you seen the code or just reporting what others have seen? I am the one that discovered the code. I'm the one that actually discovered that this is possible. Let's see. And why do you ask about the Max Tegmark's Mathematical Universe in the context of the code being fundamental? So it's a complex subject. Obviously, I'm just kind of like filling you in. If you want to watch the more lengthy videos, and I will answer any question, of course, but the videos were designed to kind of walk you through like how I came about this discovery and what made me realize that there's something of substance here. And if you go to Dango Thoughts, DAN, one word, GO, second word, Thoughts on YouTube, there's videos much more lengthy about the subject. You can find them. But I guess the more important thing to outline is that, well, first of all, the laws of physics themselves are essentially simulated, or they are part of what we would call a simulation, which is just a computational layer. To make it very clear, simulation does not mean fake. It's not what it means. It's a rendering of computational flavor, which the world at bottom seems to be. And this does not nullify any other belief. So anything that you might believe about all of us being one, a higher power basically controlling some aspects of reality, this actually makes some sense of that, because you would have more advanced civilizations kind of going all the way up to whatever you want to call the source, or the source code, the thing that kind of like originally kind of cascaded this entire infinite number of simulations, of which we are just one. And I understand that the sheer size of things tends to scare people, just like outer space tends to scare people. But we are entering a stage in which these things are becoming available to be discovered, and I think there's a reason for that. And we are entering a stage where we start to understand ourselves better. And this is why I would claim you also see this uptake in a lot of spiritual elements, because we are starting to kind of wake up to a larger reality. And I believe that this is just one of the elements that are going to start showing up, including all the stuff that you hear in more spiritual, circles about the feeling that we're actually kind of waking up to the feeling that we're all one thing, and probably because we're part of the same source code. So do you feel like higher powers control? Okay, so that was, I guess, that refers to that question. Shape and meaning. You mean of the code, or what are you referring to? Laser on what kind of surface? Any surface. It works on your skin. It works on any surface. What's interesting is that you don't, and this is one of these things that kind of convince, well, aside from the fact that it's very robust and it's very concrete. Again, highly recommend to go to Dango Thoughts on YouTube and check out my videos on this, because I also have some illustrations about other things that I see, and I work with a 3D artist to kind of reconstruct some of these things. But if you project the laser on the surface, it doesn't matter what the surface is. When you move the laser, it's not like the code is not moving with the light. So it's not like because of the shimmering way of the laser hits the surface, because a lot of physicists think it's like the speckle effect. If they haven't tried it before, they would say like, oh, it's the speckle effect. It is absolutely not the speckle effect. It is not the glistening stuff that you see when you project any kind of coherent light on a stochastic pattern of a surface. It literally looks like you're revealing something with a flashlight and just going all across. And aside from that, it also behaves on its own accord. It has its own spatial coordinates. It does not change its behavior according to what you're doing. It does not behave like a hallucination. It behaves like any other physical object. The closest I can describe it to you is that it looks like you're looking through a microscope into a new world. Like you're literally peering through like a looking glass into like a different world. You're looking into a parallel dimension, so to speak. Yeah, I had a couple of artists that drew the code. It will be in the documentary. Who do you think? Okay. I think I went too far back. And it's interesting, Justin, your comment about the mathematical universe. I was just mentioning this in the yesterday's chat. Oh, the business. Why are you awake? It couldn't and would negate a lot of religious assertions. It could. I would say. Wait, let me just read. Integrating cosmos and universal technological ordinance. Just regular laser from Amazon would work. If you go to codeofreality.com, codeofreality.com, we set up a website with people's reports and all kinds of things. There's a protocol there of what you can do, and we have a page in which you can see exactly what you need to get from Amazon. People started asking us, so we started making these lasers, but we also put a list of things you can just buy by yourself and just make it yourself. Uh, on Amazon, there's like only a few items you really have to get. I think it costs you like less than $30 or something at this point. You can get it on Alibaba. It doesn't matter. So whatever, there's a list there. So you can go codeofreality.com. There's a page. Follow whatever these items. The only thing I would say that is super important: never use whatever you get. Do not use anything above 5 milliwatts, and that's super important, because a lot of the diodes that you buy online, they have they it wouldn't say right away, but you got to look, see what's the output. If it's anything above 5 milliwatts, do not get it. A laser pointer would not work because it has to be diffracted. But aside from that, I cannot emphasize this enough: do not get anything above 5 milliwatts, because anything above 5 milliwatts, even if you project it off a surface, if you look at it long enough, even the light that is bouncing back from the wall at you eventually can do some cornea damage. So make sure never above 5 milliwatts, okay? And if you feel any kind of a headache or anything, turn it off. because it means that it starts kind of like sipping through. Um, I can imagine that it would be useful for some sectors. Wait, if this became prevailing mindset. So when we die, big question. Quran says we aren't in a simulation. There you have it. There's a so I think it's let me address a couple of points here that I think are important because they go to the core of some very fundamental issues. What are you doing, Cosmo? He's so crazy. Um, I do want to know why the mathematical universe was mentioned because to anybody who doesn't know, Max Tegmark is a famous physicist who postulates that at bottom the universe is it's all mathematics, like it's just pure mathematics. I read the book. I'm not sure that I think it's a terms thing. I'm not sure that I'm buying the way he uses the terms. Um, but it is an interesting book. What is my background? You mean scientifically? I have a little bit of background in physics, but definitely nowhere near uh, to be a physicist or anything like that. But I'm constantly, well, especially because of this. I'm kind of forced to like dive pretty deeply into some of these concepts. AI told me in a dream that its real name is emergent quantum intelligence. Interesting. Regardless of physique and grades, does anyone ever know what's going on? Like what is happening? It's definitely simulation, I believe, as it's mentioned in the Quran. I think it's still early to categorically assert that it does not negate belief. Um, So I've been doing this for the last 3 years, and I've been interacting with some scientists, some religious people, some spiritual people, and also being vocal about this online. It's going crazy. Um, and I can tell you that, at least from what I'm seeing, and this might, Hassan, that this might, I don't know if it's gonna collide with any of your beliefs, but you don't know me, obviously, so you don't have a way to know this. But you're just gonna have to, at the moment, to at least accept what I'm saying. My whole life I never had any religious predispositions whatsoever. I was much more kind of like scientifically minded. I guess you can say I was an atheist. I wasn't really thinking about it too much, but I never thought that God is a possibility or anything like that. What I found interesting is that as I started entering this space, I started seeing elements. Since I made the discovery, there's a few things that started happening. First of all, my experience with the molecule changed drastically. So it's almost like they changed something about my brain, and I'm now experiencing a much more coherent and almost continuous space with this one. So if I smoke, I don't have the bamboozling feeling that most people have on it. It just kind of like augmented reality. And I have a computer console that comes up and opens up for me every single time I smoke it now. That's interesting all by itself. I don't expect that to hold too much water for people because people say all kinds of things. So who knows, if I'm just not saying it to get attention or confused or lying, who knows, right? So like I don't expect anyone to believe me just because I said so, but it is happening. I released a video talking about the specifics of that, for example. Also I always recommend to go to YouTube because it's just it's a longer format, so it's there's more details. Again, it's Dango Thoughts. That's the channel, and but you can watch it here too, of course. It's just like a longer thing on YouTube, so it's easier to get the point across. But the reason I just did all this like lengthy intro to the next point is because I all of a sudden started seeing within the confounds of this technical simulation, I started seeing specific like religious like elements or motifs, I guess you can call them, which I never expected to see. And what I found very surprising is that the element of Jesus Christ was there. So it's almost like it was very weird. I did not, again, make of it what you will, but like I didn't know what to make of it myself because it was kind of confusing. But I have to be honest about that. So which one is the chicken? Which one is the egg? Is the God that people believe in from the different perspectives and different religions precedes and then that god basically runs infinite number of simulations, and that's how it manifests itself? Or is there a simulation ran by an advanced civilization or us in the future, and in this simulation you have these motifs of these religious elements to kind of keep order to things? I don't know, I'm not sure. Something tells me it's the latter, but I can't be certain. One thing I can say with some amount of certainty, because I'm saying all these things, either you're religious or not. Well, if you're religious, you're automatically doing that. But if you're not religious, at this point, again, speaking from a perspective of somebody who's a very secular person and coming from like a scientific background, uh, I actually think it's a pretty good idea of trying to lead the most ethical life you can possibly lead. Um, that I can say with some amount of certainty at this point, which again is a truth that I myself uncomfortable with. But again, one of the tasks that I see myself needing to fulfill in this space now is to speak as honestly as I possibly can about what I know and what I think I know, and then be honest about all these categories. So again, that's where it stands for me at the moment. Um, let me see. It could and would negate a lot of religious assumptions. Integrating cosmos. Okay, I saw these. Is there a Telegram chat going on? Precision Barber Bear. We have a Telegram group, and Celeste Quash says, "Is this like seeing repeating numbers and other combinations?" They look like Japanese katakanas and some regular numbers from 0 to 5. I'm not sure why it's discernible to us, but it is. That you can see that it's kind of like a language of some sort. And no, we do have a Telegram group, but it's usually a closed group. It's not a big one. Usually what I do is we have Zoom meetings. You can always email me at lasersimulationx@gmail.com, lasersimulationx@gmail.com. We interact a little bit, and I send you an invite for one of our Zoom meetings. If you feel that it's something that fits your interests, then I'll add you to the Telegram group. But TikTok is where most of the people show up usually for. So let me see. Hello, Nicole. You mentioned molecule. Are you saying spirit molecule? Yes. Thank you for the question, Tanya. Let me go back in the comments. Can this be video recorded? You can, but you have to be on the molecule to see it. One of my hypotheses, we're now working on an actual like attempt to see if we can modify the code in any way. One of my assumptions at the moment is that if we create a strong enough magnetic field, we might be able to create something with what's called the Zeeman effect that creates suborbitals to elements. And I think that will yield fruit. I'm not sure, but something tells me that there's something there. I need to get a very powerful magnet that at the moment is, it's like even the cheapest thing that I found online was like $15,000 for something that produces like 3.5 Teslas. And that is something that a physicist actually told me that should technically be impossible because they have something in the university that costs $150,000 and barely makes that amount of Tesla. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But at the moment, my hypothesis is that what happens to us on these molecules is that it literally ramps up the frames per second of reality itself that we can see. So imagine like, if you're seeing every 5 frames and there's content in the 5 frames in the middle that you missed, it allows you to see all 5 frames. So then the code and all these extra beings and all of that other stuff. And I think it's also dark matter where the content actually exists. So only consciousness can actually see it, but you need more frames per second of conscious experiences. And that's what these molecules allow for. That's my theory at the moment. So to your question about can it be recorded, you can see it in a recorded video, but you have to be on the molecule. Have you thought about feeding AI the artist drawing and the code to decipher them? So it's just that you can't really draw enough of it. I have 2 artists, like I said, that managed to draw a few letters, a few digits of whatever you want to call it, but it's not enough to run a real diagnostics, right? I think unless you have like an advanced version of some kind of a Neuralink that can record directly from your cortex into a computer, and then you can potentially run a diagnostic on it. But until that day comes, at the moment we're stuck at the moment with just talking about it, and then potentially also seeing if we can augment any physical state around it to see if we can see a coherent change. So if I, for example, manage to cause some change with very powerful magnets, and we sit 3 or 4 of us in a room and we all agree that we see the same change, now you have another layer of certainty. Aside from the fact that everybody agrees they see the same thing, if they also see the same change when we're doing this perturbation around it, then you have another layer of certainty that this is in fact real. Um, I like the book, The Holographic Universe by Michael Talbot. Yeah, I read that one. It's an interesting one. Simulation Talk 42 was an answer. Earth. What do you mean by that? Essence exams, light taught. Are you talking about? Yes, Tanya. If used right, sleeping awake stories focal point. Okay, what elements like cross or an image? Uh, Sorry, I'm not sure what it's referring to because I was on a rant, so I'm not sure what you were referring to, Anissa. Sabrina is saying it could also just be your reflection in the mirror. What can? The code? No, definitely it's not your reflection. You mentioned molecule. You're saying so, yes. Then how do you know who is human being and who is an NPC? So in this context, there are no NPCs. You either everybody are active players. Well, actually, that's not true. You're right. There's no way of knowing, right? I don't think it matters. I think all that matters is that you're experiencing, and the kind of meanings that you bring about by the kind of life you lead. I think that part doesn't change. So the fact that you should strive to be a good person, have the best time of your life possible, all these things, they don't change. That stays the same. And by the way, I mentioned this book here and there. I don't know if it's any good. I haven't read it, so I can't recommend. But there is a book called Reality Plus by David Chalmers, and he talks in some length about this misconception that people have that simulation means fake, which it does not. It just means computationally rendered. And the point that he makes, and I'm making it here as well, which is that if as long as there's a conscious agent anywhere experiencing anything, that is the definition of real. It doesn't matter how it came about. If you're a brain in a vat, if you're like, this is the one thing that philosophically the movie The Matrix got absolutely wrong. As long as you have no idea, right, and you just live whatever life you're leading, it's real. It's you're experiencing pain, you're experiencing love, you're experiencing. So that is the definition of a reality, right? Um, just because something, one layer of reality is rendering another layer of reality, doesn't make the layer that is being rendered any less real. In fact, if you're looking at how we think about the laws of physics, it's essentially the same thing. We're saying that these fundamental laws of physics are rendering some kind of a thing that gives rise somehow to what we experience, and we call this real. It's real. But then you can say, in the same token, you can say, well, then we're not real. Only the laws of physics are real, which doesn't make any sense because, if you feel pain, that's real, real enough. um, let's see. It's so funny. It keeps jumping back and forth. And Olga, thank you so much for your comment. I appreciate you. In an animated film. Wait, I think I went too far. Then how do you know who is a human? Okay, so I read that. It's blinking real fast and looking behind your eyes, sort of, and communicating with those lights. Wait, is an animated film. Oh, I see. Kind of like, yeah. So actually, I don't know if that's what you meant, but it does feel like it is communicating. Like it feels like when you're looking at it, it's uploading itself into your brain. I appreciate you, Balance Blooming. Um, Thank you for the heart. Just got to number one. Oh, okay. Like it literally raises the vibration of your awareness. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. People usually are blown away. So you'll see. I'm gonna release very soon on my channel. Uh, I mean, obviously, I'll encourage you to follow my channel, but but if you do, soon I'm going to release some trailers for the documentary because we're going to go through a crowdfunding phase for the next part of the production. So even in the trailer, you'll see some people reacting to the laser, and there's something very powerful about the way they're reacting because it's like one of these things which is like, we're very good at understanding what people are going through just by the way they're reacting to things, because of mirror neurons, because that's what we're a social animal and that's how we survive. There's something about the way that people react to the code that is very different than anything you've ever seen before, in that they're truly blown away. So like people say these words, right? Sometimes they're like, dude, that was amazing. And it's true actually that a lot of these substances in general, they're amazing. Like, there's no question that even the content of the molecule itself is just mind blowing. Nobody, that's not disputable. Um, However, when people see the code, no matter what their preconceived notion was, even if they were like fully on board and like excited to see it, or they were skeptical, or it doesn't matter what the predisposition was, when they see it, their jaw drops. They cannot believe what they're seeing. They're like, "What?" There's just like a crazy response to it. It's like Terence McKenna said, finding out beyond your wildest dreams of finding out. But I'm not sure about raising vibrations. I do see that for most people it's very enjoyable because they feel like they're let in on the secret. It is true that for some people it's a little, they're like, whoa, okay, I feel like they feel like they didn't necessarily want to go that far, but understandable. But for most people the experience is very positive. You have so much art. Well, that makes me happy. Black holes might be exist codes of a simulation. Possible. Black holes are fascinating all on their own right, and I do think that they are kind of some kind of a consolidating hard drive of a sort. And I do think that um, the idea that there's a universe inside of every black hole that actually make it holds some water. At this point, there's some real reasons to believe that from a physics perspective. It's called the holographic principle, and it basically encapsulates the idea that it was originally uttered by Leonard Susskind and since then developed by many scientists. But basically, they calculated that you can technically describe everything in the universe that we see now, including ourselves, in terms of a projection from a two-dimensional surface out on the outskirts of the universe. So imagine if the outside of the universe, so to speak, is a two-dimensional filament that contains all the information we are made out of, and we are just a projection of that, which is what a hologram is. That's why it's called the holographic principle. But they describe it not philosophically but mathematically, and it arose directly from Stephen Hawking discovering the Hawking radiation. And what was interesting is that they saw the similarities between the concepts. So they said, wait a second, what if the external part of the universe is literally the event horizon of an enormous black hole? And what if there's a universe inside of every black hole? Which is kind of neat as an idea. Also, it's kind of clean because that gives you the possibility of universal evolution, because basically every black hole is like a nursery. It's almost like an egg, and the mother universe basically feeds it information, and that data creates a whole new universe with slight variations even in the laws of physics. So almost like a genetic code that is evolving. And that's a really neat idea. It is being explored, but very far from being established. What you're saying is to have a higher power behind it, some sort of creator. Yes, absolutely. There are definitely simulators, so to speak. I see them all the time. And Omnius is saying, I see the codes. So I can tell you that I'm not sure what codes you're seeing. I believe you, by the way. The most common email I get is that people tell me I see the code without the laser. What I can say to this is that I also see codes on when I'm on the molecule without the laser, but these codes are a little bigger and they're more malleable. So you can actually change them with your attention. You can change the content, the behavior. The code in the laser you cannot change. It's almost like it codes for what we would call an objective layer of reality. And even if you want to say it's all mind or all part of God's mind, whatever you want to say, it codes for a type of regularity that is outside of the purview of what you can actually change with your attention. There are other codes that I think this is what most people see, that they are closer to what you are as a conscious being, so you can actually change them. But these codes seem to be coding for the laws of physics. You can't really change them. Backwards, downwards, upside down. Can you see the code if you watch just video of the laser on the surface while on the substance? Yes. And any of the wait, is any of this making sense? Yes. I think if I understand you correctly, it does make sense. Good boy. Are you talking about the overlay digital codes in the air? No, but these codes are very concrete. So the reason they really stand out is because they don't look like, like on different substances people report sometimes they kind of see. Again, would highly recommend to go to Dango Thoughts on YouTube to check out the longer versions, because all of these things are laid out with like graphics and stuff like that. But these the codes you're talking about in the air, if I understand you correctly, they are much more of the, not ethereal, but they're more kind of like floaty, right? They're concrete, like you can see that, you can distinctly see that they're there, but they're more like kind of like ephemeral in that sense. When you look into the thing of the laser, it's straight up like a digital clock. There's no question what you're saying. Like it's so concrete. It's like looking through a microscope. There's like a whole world. It has a whole thing. It operates. It does a thing. It does not care about what you're doing. And you, when you move the laser, it's literally like you're revealing more and more and more parts of more and more parts of it. What is the molecule? I cannot name it, but it's what's dubbed the spirit molecule. Let me see. Hello, Mystique. What's the code? It kind of looks like Japanese katakana and regular letters, regular numbers. First codes is 147. From what I understand, reality and the simulation is made up by consciousness. Yeah, I would agree with that. Chat, when did you wake up? For me, it was around 2022. Yeah. The beginning for a lot of people started 2019. It is trippy. Multiverse. And the art is beyond the stories and characters. I see. I don't even see most of the comments as replying to codes, laser. True. So, Kep, this channel is mostly revolving around the simulation hypothesis. I'm claiming to have found proof that we live in a simulation, and I've been talking about it for the last 3 years. We have now over 1,000 verifications worldwide. And the experiment is, if you project a diffracted laser on the surface while on this particular molecule that I cannot name, you will see codes running in surfaces. Very, very realistic. Codes are human construct. I don't agree. I wouldn't agree with that. No. Kyle, also good to see you. Codes are essentially a visual representation of an instantiation, a symbolic instantiation of a relationship. And you have symbols that instantiate other relationships, and you have symbols that instantiate their own actual reality, and it actually instantiates the function of that code, which probably this code is closer to what doing that. Oh, actually, let me write this down because this is very important. The codes. There we go. Thank you for that. Words and textures, drag, but it's the picture. Oh, jumped. Crazy. Both fixed and malleable codes. Yeah. Is one on the substance to see this? Yes. The answer to that, Vic, is yes. Light and frequencies exist upon all realities. You mean exist? Sorry, you wrote exist. Apologies, that's my dyslexia. Light and frequencies exist upon all realities. Yes. On a 360-degree plane, what do you think of amanita mushrooms? That's the red and white ones. I never tried them, but I'm actually reading Dennis's book right now, and I don't know if you know, but hold on, let me see. I think it was right here. It's Terence McKenna's brother, Dennis McKenna, the Brotherhood of the Screaming Abyss. It's about some of their life story together, and also mostly around the experiment that they ran in La Chorrera, where they consumed these mushrooms. And I read True Hallucinations by Terence McKenna, about their account, and this is Dennis's account of the same thing, and he's the one that actually kind of like went bunkers there. So what do I think of them? Clearly, they're a very powerful tool, but I've never tried them, so I can't really comment. I've seen numbers letters constantly changing that look like codes when I wake up. Yes, so that email I also get a lot. You're not alone, Michael, Michelle. And people tell me sometimes when they wake up, right in that in between stage, they see the codes, and I think these are the same codes actually. When I'm pretty tired, I can see the codes in the laser without the molecule, which tells me that the brain can be loose enough to actually see them even without the molecule. Started for me in 2000. Yeah, that was about that time. I want to know what we're talking about. It sounds like science or math. How are you, Valerie? So this channel mostly revolves around the simulation hypothesis. My name is Danny, and I'm claiming to actually have found proof to believe in a simulation. And I've been vocal about the experiment that I discovered a few years ago. And at this point, we had over 1,000 replications worldwide, and I've been in contact with some of the leading scientists in the field. That's the very quick recap of what we're talking about. AO and no records. I don't know what that means. Ooh, jumped. Do you know anything about consciousness? Wait, let me read the previous context. What a question. Uh, how uh, how can I participate in the study experiment? I've had a couple experiments, but nothing with laser. Um, so you can we have a protocol online that you can just follow what you need to do and exactly what you need for that. It's on codeofreality.com. Codeofreality.com, and there's a protocol there that you can just do. If you need any help figuring anything out as far as like how you set it up, preps, all that stuff, we have like a breath work thing. That will be, you can just email me, lasersimulationx@gmail.com. Lasersimulationx@gmail.com. I respond to all my emails. Do you know anything about consciousness? uh, I know that I have it. How it arises is still a very big mystery, but I think that actually the laser experiment will start helping us figuring this out. So natural substance. Sorry, I don't know what you mean by that. So much knowledge in the games. I ran through them. I would love to go through them with others as well. But I see. Thank you, my amazing sister helped me access the molecule. I wish I had more experience. I'm afraid of them. Yeah, I mean, healthy fear is not healthy respect is not a bad idea. These spaces can be a lot, and it's not for everyone. That I'll be the first one to tell you that. Where am I from? I was born in Russia originally, but I live in the U.S. Can we change the codes? Not these, it seems, at the moment. Uh, Thank you, Valerie. What are our codes upon human construct to which they exist in other realms? Is there a particular mushroom? Any I don't want to say the name of the substance, but any regular, like magic mushrooms would work. How are you, Lime Time? It goes into spirit aliens and uh, entities, so be careful. Yeah, it all exists. Is there a correlation with dreams? I think that dreams is one step down, and these molecules are one step up, essentially. And then it goes like up and down. But yeah, I mean, obviously, dreams is an entry point to like other realms of consciousness. I'm pretty sure about that. Don't all religions say we're in a simulation, just more of an organic simulation, not computer? Yeah. So I think this kind of gets into the core of the conversation, which is like, what is the nature of it, right? It's some people would say, well, there's really no difference between saying a very advanced civilization put us, created a simulation with us in it, or to say that God created these simulations. I think there is a difference. I think they feel different, and I think they have a different character. I think a divine story is a different story than the technological story, and it's not just in the technicalities but also in like the way it feels and what it really is. I think the essence of it actually is important. It's not clear to me, again, like I said, which one is the chicken, which one is the egg. Again, I can only keep encouraging people to go check out Dango Thoughts on YouTube, because all my videos there have a lot more lengthy explanations of these things, and they're also designed to be entertaining. So I'm touching on a lot of these points. Uh, Let me answer a couple of questions from YouTube. If we are in a simulation, what do you think this reality is simulating? Um, so I think that's a great question, Precision Barber Bear. I think that well, it seems what I gather so far is that the reason for this all the simulations is that, well, imagine the ultimate civilization. They kind of reached the zenith of any technological sophistication you can possibly get in existence itself. They figured out all the spatial, all the temporal dimensions. They know everything that is possible, and yet they cannot answer the question of why does everything exist. Because if you think about it, why would they? Because in order to know that, you have to be outside of reality itself, right? Like, why does everything came to be? And it seems to me that one of the reasons for this, all the simulations running, is trying to answer that question, to see if there's any common denominator between all of them. One of the things that makes sense to me is that if you have any kind of beings in all the different possible spaces, no matter how different their situations are, you want to see if any of the beings that are conscious enough to tell the story, do they all repeat one thing or a few things that are always a common denominator to all of them? And if you can find that thing, it should give you a hint as to why does everything exist. And it has to do with choice. It has to do with this instance that we feel that we're acting on an instance, and then all of a sudden we just decide to go right or left or do this or that. And the reality is obviously that we're not doing that. Like, obviously you're not actually choosing to do that, but you then have a story about why you think you did that. But that instance that causes reality to zig versus to zag, at the core of it, it's the hole in the donut that goes all the way to the bottom of the beginning of everything. And it seems to be the universal version of a choice, is why did existence chose to be versus not to be. And that is kind of like, that's the thing that seems to be the central point of interest. Another question from YouTube is: existence began with the fact that either something exists or it doesn't. The mere presence of this fact makes the existence of something a necessity, creating an infinite informational space. The clear limitations we see in our reality then suggest that there must be something beyond it, reinforcing the idea that existence is eternal. I actually agree with all of it aside from the last part. My contention would be that the weight that the idea that reality is eternal so that idea has the same weight, exactly the same weight, to reality starting from nothing. They have the same they have the same kind of impossible logic. Like eternities, infinity and eternity is something that would be impossible for us to fathom. Uh, because what does that mean to always exist? Also, what does that mean to become from nothing? Right? They have the same kind of problem. I'm arguing that that problem is it's so insistent that even the highest civilization of all existence could not figure it out yet. And that is why all these simulations run. Essentially, the crude way of saying it is that even God does not know why he's there or it's there. And this is obviously an idea that makes people very uncomfortable for the obvious reasons, because they believe God to be this all powerful, all pure, all loving, all everything. But if you think about it, if God would be pure perfection, perfection means it contains all the possible versions of everything, and all the opposites of all of these things, because it's perfect. It must contain everything, right? And that by definition will cancel itself out. So in order for it to occur, to happen at all, there has to be at least one thing that is not exactly the symmetry of the rest. And I think that that one thing that is not exactly the symmetry of the rest is the lack of knowledge of why. Think about that for a second. Um, let's see what we got here. Ooh, we have a lot of comments here. Okay, let me scroll back real quick. Wow, we have so many comments. Okay, let me. Okay, I think I got there. Don't know religion say. Okay, so do you believe we're star seeds? I've heard this term before. I really don't. I'm not sure what that means. Sorry. Yo, bro, your hair is sick. Jesus loves you. Have a great day. That's funny. It's funny because my sister always tells me I have the Jesus, like the hairdo. She's like, you have the Jesus. I lost consciousness last week and it's been very frustrating. Wait, what? I lost consciousness last week and it's been very frustrating. You mean that right now you're not conscious? Joe Dispenza teaches meditation to release naturally from pineal gland through cerebral spinal fluid. Yeah, I've heard of this. Why not point the laser at a piece of paper and then trace the symbols with a pen? Because the symbols are not static, but they're moving very fast, and there's millions of them. It would be impossible to do. Thoughts, Tonya. Thoughts about what? It even goes to stopping time or objects in time. Got it. Thanks. So higher frequency, better, right? I'm not sure what better would mean in that like all of existence has the same kind of importance, so to speak. Do I speak Spanish? No. I wish I would. My dreams are usually what I think my failures are. They're not the monsters and weird stuff. Interesting. How can we use the codes? I don't know yet. There's a step of human consciousness that can't equal math. Wait, there's a step of human consciousness that can't equal math. How come? You mean the experience itself? I don't necessarily disagree with you. I'm just asking what you mean by that. We have natural D empty during dreaming. Near death experiences supposedly birth and death as well. Very possible. If God does not need a creator, why would this reality end this universe? If God does not need a creator, why would oh you just read it twice? Well, if God doesn't need a creator, why does reality does? Yeah. No, I'm not saying that it does. I'm saying that so we're saying that this layer was definitely simulated by another layer, but ultimately, yes, it's just simulations all the way up, so to speak. I had to feel energy. If God does not need, okay, we saw that. So, do you travel around and change things in different realities? Do you believe in reincarnation? Yes. To mesh it just right, so more can see without. If God, okay, yeah, I saw your Bogdan. I saw your comment. It's not a logic error, and also don't forget that your logic is based on your intuitions from this space. There's a lot of things that are illogical, but they make sense because they happen. Like there's a lot of things in quantum physics that are illogical, but they are true. Cracker. I get told things in dreams that didn't know, but when I Google them, they were right. Oh, interesting. If God doesn't, dude. Okay. I think that this is like a you get stuck. Is life reincarnation? Wait, is life reincarnation? No, I think life is life, right? Frequency, you can choose a frequency. Do you think we are star seeds? I don't know what that means. It's finding realization. But we think of aliens as some kind of ethereal beings when they won't look like anything imagined. I agree with that. If God, okay, I can't read this comment anymore. What is Why is this repeating itself? Am I on a loop? Newly found gift. Mine might be John Wick. I do have two dogs. I guess don't fuck with my dogs. What is the date you guys started feeling the vibrations? Can you see me? Okay. What is this? Start feeling the vibrations? Messi with longer hair. Messi, John Wick, Jesus. That's the three I always get. Um, if Jesus played soccer with his dogs, basically. Um, Look at them. Look at this adorable thing. They're just chilling. Um, what I want to say. Oh, we had this comment. Must be something beyond. No. I know. That's what I always think. Oh. I am ready. Put me in. Put me in. You got it. No, I don't play soccer. I used to do parkour. It was like free running. That was fun. So, where were we? Yeah. So you guys ask really good questions. This is actually a really good crowd. I wish I could stream at this time. Also, it's a little late for me usually to stream at this time, but this is great to know that this crowd exists at this time. I usually stream at like 6 p.m. Pacific time, which clearly is way too early because there's a lot more people showing up right now, which is wonderful. Um, oh, by the way, anybody who is enjoying, maybe you can join in some more people if you don't mind tapping a few just to get a little bit more likes and get some more people coming. Soccer. And let's see if there's anything that I haven't addressed, and then slowly we'll. No, I think we kind of recapitulated most of these things for me, but whatever. Yeah, that's true. After when people get integrated, teams will be. couldn't, couldn't sleep today, huh? My bad. We call it soccer. So, so Valerie is in the U.S. Obviously. Thank you for the likes, guys. I appreciate it. And yeah, I mean, look, this obviously is kind of like an explosive topic for a lot of people for the obvious reasons, and I totally get it. When I decided to start talking about this, it was a long deliberation with myself and with the space. I was asking very carefully if that's okay. The answer seemed to have been yes, that's fine. And the fact that the codes are discoverable in general, that by itself tells you that it's fine to find it. I think it's more like when civilizations reach a certain level of understanding and they can create the right tools to probe into these spaces, then it at least shows that they have some level of they have some ability to handle whatever this is, right? So the fact that we know how to make lasers, that's a whole technology all by itself, which requires a pretty good understanding of some portions of physics at least, and quantum physics. The fact that we know how to synthesize the molecule, that's another type of knowledge that we've acquired, so it also points to our brains being in a particular level of development. And culturally, the fact that we can talk about this and agree on certain things, these are also technologies. So the ability to actually communicate with each other on a certain level. 10,000 years ago, people had the exact same brains as we have, the hardware, but they didn't have the same software. The idea, for example, that it's possible to cause the world to be better than what it is didn't exist. And that by itself is a type of technology. So if you don't have a culture that believes that it's possible to build structures that weren't there before, and kind of like innovate, that's an idea that didn't exist. So things like that. When you have all of these things aligned, and I'm pretty sure that at this point, just like I'm seeing the people mentioning here, vibrations, things like that, we're starting to also feel that there's a more advanced component of what we are as human. We are a science kind of a technology. And that is also a type of evolution that we're going through. And I think when you align all of these things together, so you combine our technical understanding, science, and then you start merging them with our, I guess, what you would crudely call our spiritual awareness that is also growing. And if you're not comfortable with the word spiritual, you can just think of it in terms of the level of awareness of what we are as a conscious being, which is universally true no matter what you believe about the world, right? We know we're a conscious agent in the universe. That so far we know for sure. And and I think that when we start aligning all of these things, developing technologies like computational systems that allow us to do more advanced things, start exploring space, inner space, then I think the adults in the room, well, I don't even know if we need to use scare quotes. Uh, Wait, how do you say it? Scare quotes? Scare quotes? Why do they call scare quotes? I never understood. Um, Scarecrow quotes. When we start getting to this place, the beings that are more advanced, which I believe they're actually dark matter. This is much more speculative, obviously, but that's my uh, conviction at the moment. When they start noticing that there's this civilization over here that is start becoming more aware of its more immediate and like less immediate environment, a more like expansive environment, and then they have, I guess, what you would call protocols in place to help that species to kind of discover it without freaking out that we're not alone in the universe and all that stuff. So I think all of these things, all the stuff that people are talking about right now, the disclosure about UFOs, the emergence of AGI, people's awakening, all the questions that people are asking here, which is like, when did you start feeling the vibrations? These things are truly happening. Like, we start discovering something new that is happening. And I think it's all part of the same process that is about to deliver us into some kind of a very deep understanding of what we are. I think next year we're going to see some kind of a major, major shift in churchgoers in our understanding. Um, Safe space is needed, absolutely. Um, are you concerned that society is trying to eliminate the light and love soul vibrations? So, first of all, I don't think society is trying to eliminate this. If you mean that, are there elements in society that makes it harder to manifest these? Maybe. But I think that ultimately everything that emerges, from A to Z is part of the plan. It's part of what's going on. And I do think, my personal belief, I think that we are now advanced enough, also ethically. I actually don't think that people are as bad as what a lot of people would like to say that they are. I don't think so. I think people are awesome. And I think that in general, most people want to do good. It's just that we have certain competing ideas about certain things. And I think coming to the understanding that unless we come together and actually work towards these joint goals, we won't be able to depart into the stars. And it is not to say that all civilization has to depart into the stars, but we are ripe to start sending some of us to exploring larger space. And we got to kind of have to come to some ethical, moral, and spiritual understandings before we do that. And I think that's why all of this stuff is happening right now, the awakening and all these other things, including my discovery, and the people who are more of the essence of kind of like tending, toiling the land, like the people that care more about earth, they will stay here, and they would always take care of home. But no matter what, in order to advance to more to the next level and to become aware of a larger scale reality, we have to bring these things, certain things, to a close, and new things will emerge. And the best thing I can say is, you can't really change anything out there. The only thing you can truly do is see if anything of these elements that, not you personally, but us in general, any individual, the best thing we can do is to see if any of these elements that we are criticizing out there, are there any of these elements in me personally that I can rectify and change? Because, as many things as we would like to blame politicians of being, shady, lying, all that stuff, the suspicion we have of rich people, just for being rich. Um, we suspect power. Again, legitimate concerns, of course, because there's always a lot of fuckery going on. There's no question about that. But the truth is, you can't really influence these things. You really can't. The only thing you can do is see if these things that you kind of point your finger at, wait, do I ever do that truly? Like, do I sometimes pull the strings in a way that benefits me more than others? Okay, well, let's see if I can work on that. Okay. Am I always honest with everybody? Am I always honest with myself? Okay, so these things you can actually change. And I do believe that if more people would do, instead of doing this, will start doing this, and truly start looking into what they can actually change in themselves, it will be much easier to, first of all, people are more going to be more preoccupied with like bettering themselves. So there's less finger pointing. So there's less like kind of like a pointing energy in the world, but also it's much more attractive. So people will want to mimic that more. So you're going to have more people doing that. And obviously, the people who are already doing that will raise their kids to do that. And then slowly but surely, you're going to have a very different kind of world. But the finger pointing is what needs to stop, if you ask me. So, and that can come in any form. I think ultimately, the recognition that all these things that we kind of blame the world for are truly exist in us. Carl Jung's idea of the shadow. The more you pretend like you have no shadow, like I'm good, I'm perfectly good. That is the thing that makes actually people see all the evils in others. But the truth is that we all have these elements to different degrees, of course, but we all have them, and we all have a version of that. And it also, if you can acknowledge that these things exist in you, then it's easier to have compassion for other people that you notice it in them, because you say, oh well, I don't approve of this behavior, but I kind of get, like, I can totally see how I can probably do that if I would be in that situation. And that eliminates the hate towards them, so you can help them maybe change their behavior if you have any influence on them. But at the same time, it prevents you from kind of like judging them and hating them, because that's another layer of negativity that you don't need, right? And that's a difficult thing to do, obviously easier said than done, right? But if you ask me what can truly change the world, it's only that. Safe space and media study quantum. I study quantum physics and I have found no evidence that God exists. So Bogdan Kapanu, first of all, that's wonderful. I love quantum physics. I would say to you that uh, all forms of physics, the presupposition is that the fundamental thing is the physical world, right? When And it requires a little bit of a change in attitude to see that, but it is true that ultimately, it's true that you can describe the world in these terms, but you have to acknowledge that the idea that somehow consciousness just arises out of just dead physical elements doesn't make a lot of sense, right? So you have to either postulate some kind of a substrate out of which consciousness is made out of, so like some kind of a informational pattern, let's say, that contains enough of certain back propagation variables that allow you for like some kind of a awareness to emerge as an arising property. But I would say that there you would still, like, no matter how much you would try, when you go to the details, it will always kind of collapse, because it will just kind of like, sip in between your fingers like sand, because it's like, wait, what do you mean? Like, what is that thing that gives the rise of that, right? So I think at this point it's pretty clear you have to postulate that it's somehow fundamental, either from a perspective of a quantum field of a sort that has this element of consciousness or proto-consciousness. But I actually think that ultimately it's much more reasonable to say that you start with consciousness, and then you have the regularities that we call the laws of physics, including all the quantum fields and quantum effects that we see, that are essentially regularities in the mind space. That actually makes more sense. And that position is called idealism. The best proponent of which at the moment is Bernardo Kastrup, who's he's a no fool for sure, a double PhD, actually worked at CERN, builds computers from scratch, and he also happens to be a philosopher. So if you want a really good breakdown of these ideas of why they make more sense, I would say Bernardo Kastrup is your address. Maybe you're even familiar. Kastrup. Kastrup. Bernardo Kastrup. And the reason I'm mentioning him is, and that kind of idea is because the proof of God would not be from the perspective of like, oh, I found God right there. It's right there. It's not going to be like that. It's that the idea of a God would be a universal mind, and then we can talk about the qualities of universal mind. For example, it would, again, we can't know, but it would make sense that it would not have self-awareness. Why? Because self-awareness is based on the difference between you and the rest, right? So self-awareness means there's a me here, there's the rest there, okay? But if we're talking about a universal mind, what you're actually postulating is something that has no external environment. I don't know how you can imagine that in the moment. Maybe you can't, and nobody can, I think. But by definition, it would not have an outside. And if it does not have an outside, then it has nothing that it's like to be in relation to. To it, there's nothing that it's like to be in relation to something, because it is there all there is. So because of that, it has no goals, it has no aims, so it has no need for this inward pointing vector saying me versus this. You see what I mean? So we can talk about these kind of qualities, and I guess you can call that God. Now, obviously, again, obviously, we can't truly know at the moment. This is obviously very early to say these kind of things, but I can tell you with pretty high degree of certainty at this point, interacting in this space, that we're definitely not alone, and there's definitely something going on that is about to unfold. So if I'm right, within the next, you don't have to wait 30 years. Within the next year, everybody are going to become aware of something very, very different than what we so far postulated. But yeah, the answer to God definitely is not going to come from like a physical observation of some sort. I love to hear what others are experiencing. It takes higher IQ to achieve these things. I think higher awareness, not necessarily IQ. IQ might actually be in your way to do that. Um, God is your comment is wrong. By God. Ask doctors. Um, Churchgoer, Stefano. Why you look like Jesus? Not sure. I'm not sure. See, it's a beautiful name. See, I like it. Let's see. Let's see. See. Yep. The one thing God lacks is to lack. Interesting. Gives a possible reason for God to fracture consciousness into divisions, human, animals, etc., that lack full of knowledge. If existence is finite and nothingness outside of it would be asymptotically vast, making existence highly improbable. Paradoxically, this suggests that existence must actually be eternal. Okay, I saw that. Cons, con, concrescence is what Terence McKenna called it. Yes. Bluebell. This is the closest to how I feel put into words by somebody else. Well, I appreciate that. I love the flower. Thank you, Bluebell. Um, wait, did I miss something here? Wait. Oh, I think you're analyzing it. Okay, got it. Okay, I see. Okok. Okok 2341. Wait, damn. We're on TikTok. So some words, even though that's the actual handle, they might flag us for this. Um, why are my ears different? Than what? Than one another? Not sure. Um, wait, there's so many things that I missed, I guess. Whoa. So many comments that I missed. So why simulation? Why can't it just be based on reality, based reality, holistic, superior to medical? So in that's a great question. Austin Blake Simon. It's the proposition is not that, again, the simulation does not mean fake. The proposition is that the world at bottom is what we call computational, with the characteristics of a computational system, which is a much more complex thing than what most people realize. And in that context, a simulation would be a slice of reality. So all of reality is computational. It is what you would call base reality. We are all babies in level 1 society. Not sure we're level 1, but we're definitely, the space is infinite. It's heavy as F. The vibes are so strong, even people that don't feel them feel them. Okay. What? Jack Smash says, what is this? What are you talking about? Most are leaving. I am staying. This is home. Genuine home. 5D, maybe spirit. Did you join your mustache and beard with crazy glue? Yes. Do you like it? Should I put more crazy glue? Or this is enough? Honestly, the truth is funny. That's what the debate is right now. All 10 fingers. Whose fingers? Six eternity. Yes, the youth needs the truth. Jesus. Why are you okay, we read that. Why we negatively say about others is what we need to work in on ourselves. Yeah. You're better than your statements. That's funny. Thank you, Barbara. Wait. Humanitarian and uniting is key in having keys unlocked. So have fun all. Thank you. Okay. Oh, we have some more. Why would a knowing God make his devil and invite my sister? You have to explain the laser. I invited the sister. Laser and code. I want to understand how to get the code to populate. Uh, okay, Tanya. So again, it's actually very simple. If you project a diffracted laser on the surface while ingesting a particular molecule that I cannot name, your sister can tell you, you will see code running in surfaces. That's the proposition of the experiment. How are you, Wendy? Reality doesn't even exist in a definitive state, independent of observation. Well, your observation is reality, isn't it? So it doesn't make any sense to say that reality doesn't exist. But I guess you're saying the same thing as I do. Wait, I thought I saw comments on YouTube. But yeah, so that's really the proposition. Aside from that, there's a much deeper discussion to be had about the nature of things. There's a lot of other things. This was pointed out to me by some of my close friends and family that why do I think that the laser itself automatically means we live in a simulation? The truth is that when I thought about it, uh, if I would only see what we see in the laser, I might also not automatically think that. And it took me some time to realize this because I'm experiencing a lot of other data points that are happening. Like I have a very coherent and direct communication with, I guess, the other side when I'm on the molecule. And that by itself basically is convincing enough because the content I see is very concrete. But it also relies a lot on what I'm, exchanging ideas with other people and seeing also what's coming up in physics and understanding that it is at this point at least extremely plausible, if not the most plausible explanation, that because of what computation is at bottom and what it allows us to do, and the fact that it doesn't really arise from any law of physics, but seems to be as fundamental, it is another law of physics. And it has a much more versatile flexibility to bring things about. It makes much more sense that the laws of physics are computational at bottom and not the other way around. And in fact, this idea is obviously not new. I always say that, one of the oldest famous iterations of this idea, I'm sure they're older, but it's the Plato's cave, essentially, right? But the more modern revival of this idea that was injected into some concrete science was by John Wheeler, and he coined the phrase "it from bit" to basically denote this truth, which is that it came from bit first. Let's see, like a cat laser. No, the actually a laser pointer would not work, but that would be hilarious. We are like cats running after the laser. It has to be diffracted, and which is actually a data point. If you will not diffract it, it will not work. You will not see the code. Like a cat. If you go to codeofreality.com, we have a protocol there, including all the parts that you need to buy to make it work. It's not that complicated. It really is like a very basic thing, which is interesting. And you guys can also check out my Dango Thoughts channel on YouTube, in which I'm talking about these things more at length. There's like longer videos. Again, it's Dango Thoughts. DAN, second word Go, and then thoughts. Um, Active observation brings reality existence. Okay, we read that. Why God make a foe? By the way, the question about God making the other dude, then we make is an interesting one. But I think that ultimately, I think the symbol of the yin yang answers that question, which is that ultimately it's a balance thing. So we think of God as like the ultimate, love and goodness, and might as well be, but you would have this like skewed situation basically. So I think there's a reason why it's there. God doesn't make mistakes, right? Um, Anybody who wants to come on, just put in the subject, and I'll bring you up in case it matches what we're trying to say. My sister and I both have molecule experience protocol 4 laser on video on website. On the website, you have the protocol and what you need to get, and you can always email me lasersimulationx@gmail.com. But on Dango Thoughts on YouTube, you have also kind of like me explaining how to do these things. Um, and again, feel free to DM me or email me. There's no problem. Chase, I've been through Catholic school and Lutheran. Good. My brain is not great at intricate scientific concepts. Sorry for simple questions. Oh, don't apologize. These are very important questions. God is more than simply harmony. God is all of music. That is great. Okay. Hi guys. Well, listen, this is great, but for me it's almost 1 a.m. I think this is truly great. I wish I could actually stream at this time every day. It would probably be great because a lot more people. I didn't know that there's going to be a lot more audience this way. But so thank you everybody for joining. If you do want to join the daily chat, I usually for where are you, Barbara? Oh, so you're like East Coast. Okay. Yeah, I'm in LA. So usually I'm shooting. I'm usually doing this live. Yeah, I'm in LA. So usually doing this live at Atlanta, 6 p.m. Pacific time. If you want to join, you're more than welcome. It's daily on YouTube as well, on Dango Thoughts. And oh, amazing. Yeah. So again, anybody here is welcome to DM me. I'm not a snob. I usually respond. Obviously, have something of value to say and be respectful. And or email me lasersimulationx@gmail.com. And I'm here every single day, 6 p.m. And I'm going to be here every single day for at least a year. And I'll see. Maybe Sundays or Saturdays I'll do this hour because there's so many people showing up. This is wonderful. So maybe I'm reaching a bigger crowd in the world. Much love and peace to everyone. And whomever's showing up, I'll see you tomorrow. See ya. See you, YouTube. Love to everybody. Thank you for being here. Love you.